Hello and welcome to day 10 of 64 Days of Truth. This is also day 5 of the wormhole experience for those of you who are in it. I'm live in the community. For those who don't know what the wormhole is, you can check out the link in the description. It's a portal for transformation, pretty much as simple as that. And it's free up until the 11th of June. So if you want to join in, the link is in the description. The last few days, for those of you who've been with me, I've been talking about faith a lot and becoming one with the divine, becoming one with the divine will. What is the plan for the divine for our life? That really surrendering to the highest plan for our life rather than the plan that our ego wants to attach to, that our ego wants to create, simply because it wants to fulfill certain needs, it wants to fulfill certain desires, but they are not our real soul needs. They are our needs and desires of the ego, wanting validation, wanting to prove ourselves, wanting to feel worthy, wanting to feel needed, wanting a lot of things that the ego desires, and not wanting to be abandoned, so creating safety from rejection, from failure, and all of these things. And the ego creates life to keep itself alive. It is designed for survival, not for your survival as much as its own survival. And there's a huge difference in this, because the ego will convince you that what it is doing is for your survival. But in reality, if you see that you are not your ego, and that the death of the ego is not your own death, the game changes completely. Because then you can actually allow the ego to die. Then you do not have to listen to the programs of the ego to keep itself alive, because you actually start realizing that the ego is the warden of your prison. The ego is not here for you to experience freedom and to live your biggest life. It is keeping you a prisoner in a cage, which it calls protection, which it calls safety. And the ego is amazing at creating a life that is just satisfying enough, that is just fulfilling enough, that is just comfortable enough, that we do not have to actually break out of the prison, that we do not have to actually fly into our life because, well, it's good enough. And then, of course, it will plant all the fears possible of, if you do leave the prison, you do not have safety anymore. You can fail, bad things can happen to you can die. All the list of fears will start coming up very quickly the moment you even think to start going out of the prison. Boom, the ego explodes with a whole list it has been preparing your whole life, convincing you to stay in the prison. And I was just thinking of this story. I'm terrible with the religious stories, but I kind of know that there was this whole desert crossing, and I believe it was Moses who was leading the people across the desert. And the difference there, why faith was so important and so powerful, was that it was the only option. Where they were going, where they were leaving from, they could not stay there anymore. They had to find something else. So it became their survival that required them to have faith and go into the unknown and then find something even better. But our lives are a very comfortable prison. We have the bandwidth and the capacity to just keep doing the same thing, keep trying the same thing, hoping it will suddenly fly off into success, hoping suddenly it will work. The same thing we have been doing, which has not given us the satisfaction that we really desire, that we know that we are meant for. It's not given us a fulfillment. It's not given us a prosperity. It's not given us a pleasure. It's not given us the peace. But there is this hope that tomorrow it will work. Suddenly, tomorrow something will happen that the same thing we have been trying our whole lives, it will work. And it has worked enough to keep your life comfortable. It has worked enough to keep your life just fulfilling enough, just satisfying enough that you do not need to complain beyond a point. This is why most people only enter the spiritual journey at the breaking point, at rock bottom, because there is no option left. They become the people in the desert who have lost their home and they have to go into the unknown and find something else, because the home burned down. You had a meltdown, you had an anxiety, you had a midlife crisis, you had a heart attack, whatever happened, you had cancer, you recovered from it, whatever happened, something happened that awakened you, and you said, I cannot be here anymore. I have to find another promised land. I have to go into the unknown. Even if it kills me, I have no other option left. And in that, then the only option left is faith. I will find something. Or I will perish, or I will find something. But I would rather believe that I will find something, because thinking I will perish is not really going to help me survive. Faith, at some level, is also a survival mechanism when all we have left is faith. But when it's not about our survival, faith is a convenience. Faith is optional. Unless we completely change our attitudes, unless we change it that faith is not optional, unless we change it that not living our highest life is as good as being in hell. That if you're not in heaven on earth, we are in hell on earth, or we are in purgatory. And neither is really great. Hell is obviously terrible, but purgatory is also very uncomfortable. But purgatory is that space which is just comfortable enough. You've exited hell. So in contrast, it's like, it's so much better. At least I'm not in hell anymore. So you give yourself infinite time. You don't need to get to heaven, because purgatory is fine enough. And then when you get closer to heaven, it's even worse, because then it's even a little bit more comfortable. Your egos managed to keep you so comfortable and so satisfied that, so what if I don't have heaven? My life is good enough anyways. What am I complaining about? I should be grateful for what I have. No one is saying don't be grateful, but you should be grateful is a very different thing from I am grateful because I love what I have and I'm constantly evolving, constantly growing into the next version of myself until I touch heaven on earth. And I'm telling you from experience, you can touch it. It's not just a nice feeling inside, you can touch heaven. I was so blown away when I had this experience for the first time. I couldn't actually believe what was happening for me. I couldn't believe that heaven is not merely a feeling. Or we can say it's such a palpable feeling that you can touch it physically. Your physical experience of touch changes when you're truly experiencing heaven on earth. And just imagine, like, that is what you're being deprived of when you're just settling and compromising for purgatory or hell. And for what? Just because it's scary to go into the unknown. Just because there's no guarantee that faith will work. But that's not how faith works. Faith is the guarantee that heaven exists, that the light is there at the end of the tunnel. It's not just you have to exit the darkness and get stuck in the middle of the tunnel, which is comfortable enough. At least I'm not in whatever I was escaping, but this tunnel is safe. It's fine. It's dark and it's not very nice, but at least it's not hell. I should be grateful because at least I'm not in hell. Like line I'm repeating again and again and again. Because this is what ignites the fire. This is what puts you into the state of, if I'm not in heaven, I treat it the same as hell. I do not settle and compromise for anything less than heaven. And that doesn't mean I'm trying to manufacture through my ego heaven. I'm not manufacturing heaven through my ego, making it look like heaven, but it feels like hell. It's not what I'm talking about. The only road to heaven, in my experience, and from pretty much everyone I've heard, is divine guidance. When you let go of trying to make it work your way, what you think is the ideal life for you, what you think is the best life, but truly enter into the divine flow. You're constantly responding to your intuition and acting on your intuition to live your highest life. Even when it's the scariest thing in the world. I have in the last week received some very scary proposals from divine guidance, which at this stage I have no option but to follow those proposals. And it's extremely uncomfortable, and that's what has led to me making this live stream today. Is that technically I have the option to just keep going the way I have been going and keep trying the things I've been trying, and it keeps me fine. I can keep making money doing what I'm doing, and I live a nice life. My life looks like paradise on the outside, but I know for myself from the inside that I have not been living in heaven. I've been living a pretty great life, but it's not been heaven. And now I've got a taste of heaven. And that was a poison in a way. Once you've tasted heaven, you know that the contrast, you don't want to settle for it anymore. You don't want to compromise for it anymore. And for the people who have not tasted heaven, you get to do it by listening about it. That it's there. It's not about believing me, but going on your own journey, your own adventure to find heaven. At least go look for it. At least do something to experience it. You don't have to believe me. I was never someone who believed anyone about anything when it came to spirituality, religion, or faith. Every single thing that I teach has been through my own experience, going from being a complete skeptic and a complete atheist. So, wherever you are on the spectrum between faith and skepticism, it doesn't matter. Because wherever you're on the spectrum, you can always experiment. What's really sad is if you just give up and you say there is nothing and I'm not even going to try. Because then you're settling, then you're compromising for whatever is available for a very limited existence. And especially because I'm talking about heaven on earth, it's an experience you can have in the here and now. It's not about believing something will happen after you die because you were a good person or a bad person. Not at all talking about that. This is an experience that you can validate, you can get proof of it in this very body, in this very brain, in this very consciousness of having your identity, whatever your name is. I got that proof very directly. I did not have to believe a single person that there is such a thing as a divine. I got to live it. I got to experience it. I got to feel it. I got to touch it. And now I get to touch it more and more and get closer and closer to it. And I'm committed to living in it. And not as a permanent state, but as something I'm responsible to keep creating in every moment. And this is the biggest difference, is that when you stop looking at heaven as a destination, and it's about heaven on earth in the journey. So it's several conditions. It's not heaven as an afterlife. It's heaven on earth. It's not heaven on earth as a destination. You did the work and you have arrived and it's done for life. It's heaven on earth in the journey. You keep going. You keep going. Because life keeps happening. Pain keeps happening. Darkness keeps happening. Things keep happening that disconnect you, that pull you out of the experience. But do you stay out or do you use that to alchemize as fuel to stay in heaven, to keep deepening our experience of heaven? This is what I have experienced. This is what I teach. This is my way of heaven on earth. And if this resonates for you, great. I'm very happy to hear that. If it doesn't, there are many other people who teach many different things. There is heaven as an afterlife, and you can suffer and feel miserable throughout life. That's the usual proposition, is that yeah, we have our tests and our challenges and everything is terrible here, and in the afterlife we will be blessed. If that's what resonates for you, or you just believe nothing exists, I don't know what you're doing on this channel then. Why you're still listening? Probably because there's something inside you that feels called. Something inside you that feels like, yes, I want to at least give it a shot. And that's what I offer. I offer portals to heaven and earth. Come experience it for yourself. The wormhole, as I said, is one of those portals. It's not just about transformation, it's about transforming into someone who's experiencing heaven on earth. So that's pretty much it for today. And I will close this here. If you want to join the wormhole, the link is in the description, and you can also message me if you cannot find it or you want some help or you want to talk about all of this. I'm very happy to have a conversation about this. And if you have watched it and you have enjoyed it and it has resonated, I would also love if you share it with someone, because it can help someone else too. So that's all for today, day 10. I will see you tomorrow, day 11 of 64 Days of Truth. Thank you for joining.